Okay, so I started this piece off by giving it a coat of a peachy color that I made with Miss Mustard Seed milk paint. I used Miss Mustard Seed yellow and orange petticoat to get that custom peachy color, and then I went in and mixed up some Flow Blue, Tricycle, and Farmhouse White to get that rose colored pink, dusty rose color. And then after that was all dry, I went in and distressed that like crazy and put some yellow painterly flowers. And then I went in with some Lady of Shalott by IOD stamps with some yellow ink and just filled that in a little bit to add some more visual interest to the background. I didn't bother to film all that because you guys have seen furniture being painted before and you've seen stamps, IOD stamps being used before. This is nothing, I didn't do anything special or unique here. So I started the video by doing a little border with chalk to give me some guidelines for the corners of my piece. And I put some butterfly and moth transfers and a few spots before going in with my ink. I love me some butterfly stamps. Doing some masking here and like putting little trim around the butterflies to make the corners really look like decorative elements here. Sorry about all the camera wobble here. And I'm just stamping right on top the chalk, and I find if you don't like do a super thick, like heavy chalk line, that it will not affect your stamping at all. I used to use pencil and then go in with an eraser afterwards, but I find the chalk is a lot easier to just dust away. Okay, I'm thinking, what am I going to use as a stamp to join these to complete the frame? And what I'm thinking is I'll use a stamp that I haven't used before, because believe it or not, that is a thing. And I find it funny how I'll get a stamp set and I'll be like, nah, I don't really want it, but I could probably do something with that. And then I take it home and do a few little things with it, and I end up it ends up being my new favorite stamp set versus something that I'm just like, oh, I'm just dying to have that, and I don't actually use it very often. So use a stamp that you haven't used before. It might end up being your favorite stamp. I think this is so fun that I'm doing like a very unconventional Ouija board. Like you could imagine using all different backgrounds and textures to start with. Different frames, different fonts. Like there's so many different possibilities here. I mean, why not use like some of the Christmas stuff and get a little like Nightmare Before Christmas on it? Like, I want to see some really funky, unusual Ouija boards. Like, do it. I want to see it. to like properly line up all of my letter font on a nice arch, I took a bowl, a big bowl, and I just put it on my table and I drew a little trace line with some chalk and just lowered it down a little bit for my second tier of letters, and then just went in with my chalk again, and there I have some little grid lines to follow with my letters, for my letters. So I have all of my stamps arranged, and I'm going to stamp them one at a time, just because that's what I'm accustomed to, and it's probably a huge waste of time, but whatever. And I got this stamp from, is it Lady of Shalott, I believe? And it's a flower bud, but I am going to use it sideways. And you know what? That looks like a broomstick to me if we just extended this a little further. So maybe we'll use that in another Halloween project. Just need to think something up. But you need to stop seeing your stamps for what they are in some cases, and just look at them as shapes. You can have a lot more possibilities if you just ignore what they are and just see the shapes. And then you'll see something else in them. But yeah, okay, I'm gonna get started stamping because obviously this is gonna take a while. I smudged my ink here, so I just grabbed my chalk again and I colored in where the ink was all smeared and smudged. And I feel like the chalk absorbs some of that ink on the surface. Okay, so I finished my stamps and I'm putting in a few more butterfly transfers. Excuse me. Oh dear. Okay. And I lost my, well, I misplaced, one of my 10 little scratchy transfer things. So I am using, yeah, some sewing equipment. A seam ripper, yeah. Goodness, I always forget my words.